Where did actually Toshi go? Toshi was the high flyer among the meme coins on the base chain just 2 months ago, and it seems like things got somewhat quiet. That's probably because the price tended to bleed in the last weeks. Now let's have a look at whether or not it makes sense to buy this dip now. Let's have a look at the on-chain data most people aren't considering. In the end, it's all about the buying when nobody is looking and then selling when attention is high. So here's that video on Toshi published 2 months ago. It outperformed the average video on this channel, and a single video got 600 subscribers almost. It still gets a few views every day. At the time, all attention was on the token. Everything else was down, but Toshi was up. That has now unfortunately changed. Toshi is now among the trending tokens on the base chain when looking at the liquidity pool size, only at place number 63. There's barely any liquidity at all. And that's the price development. What used to be a high flyer became a pump and dump. We are down 75% from the price top. In the last 24 hours, we had less than 600 wallets that traded the token on chain. And most of those wallets sold the token. Now 600 traders in a day, that relates to more than 500,000 wallets that hold Toshi. Only 0.1% of wallets of Toshi are currently active. 99.9% do nothing. Is that potentially an opportunity? Let's have a look at on-chain metrics. What we're seeing over here is the number of buyers and sellers per day on the left and the ratio of buyers and sellers on the right. We can clearly see how Toshi's attention moves in waves and how currently the attention tends to be rather low. We can also see waves of adoption where the number of buyers clearly outpaces the number of sellers. But currently we are clearly not at such a phase. We've pretty much 50% buyers versus 50% sellers. Something fundamentally has changed for Toshi with the Coinbase listing. Check this out. This is the number of holders. On the left side, we've got the number of wallets that hold at current prices $1,000 worth of the token. For the chart in the middle, it's $10,000 worth of the token. For the chart on the right, it's $100,000 worth of the token. We can see a lot of excitement, a lot of accumulation, at least for retail, that lasted until November of last year. We see how the accumulation of the smarter money stopped already in March of last year. And the largest of the holders, they are already distributing since the very beginning in October of 2023. So there's always constant selling pressure by the whales. And that's probably why long-term Toshi has a hard time outperforming. This crash over here of the number of holders on-chain happened with the Coinbase listing. The once positive trend had been broken. Now the token is mainly in the hands of the market makers. Just have a look at the trading volume. The price discovery now happens on Coinbase. 32% of trading volume happens on Coinbase directly and not anymore on-chain on the base layer. On top of that, we've got perpetual futures, so levered bets on the price, and that is led by Bybit and Gate.io. And so it seems like fundamentally there's really no more excitement around Toshi. It seems like the current holders rather tend to sell off. Meme coin trading is clearly a game of attention. At the beginning, when a meme coin is still small and when a meme coin has somewhat of a new story, then a lot of people buy into the asset and then grow it up to a market cap where future growth is very hard, right? Once we are at $1 billion of market cap, it's very hard to go to 2 billion and 3 billion, etc. So it's always about risk versus reward. It's always about how many new people have to still come into the token in order for future price growth. Now, once we've hit the saturation point, that's then when the whales take more and more profit. It's very hard to turn this around. It's more likely that a new meme coin will take the place of Toshi than for Toshi itself to turn around. Yes, there are some staples in the meme coin industry that won't go anywhere. Dogecoin, for example, or Shiba Inu. Those kind of tokens will stay around. But smaller tokens like Toshi that already fell all the way down to place 62, they will have a harder time recovering. Yes, this week looks pretty positive for altcoins, but this month already doesn't. And so I think the overall trend of the Bitcoin dominance continuing to rise and altcoins tending to outperform, it will probably prevail. When most altcoins underperform Bitcoin most of the time, it's very hard to make money, especially when holding altcoins longer term. We're not just actively trading them. Just have a look at the performance of the top 100 altcoins in the last year. Over here, we've got Bitcoin. And yes, there were a few altcoins that outperformed Bitcoin. 2 of them are gold derivatives. But yeah, those altcoins outperformed, but most of altcoins actually underperform Bitcoin. There are so many altcoins that lost money even while Bitcoin went up in the last year. And so that's why I'm very critical of a strategy of trying to fish for the bottoms for meme coins. There are simply so many meme coins that will die into obscurity and that will never recover. The odds are clearly not in our favor. Most altcoins won't make it. Sometimes it might look like we've already reached a bottom and that we should buy that bottom. But then when you buy low, it can go even lower. And we can even drop another 70%. Doesn't it feel much better to bet on falling prices when most assets go down, especially versus Bitcoin? For example, this year, this is Avalanche relative to Bitcoin in the last 3 years. An aggregate underperformance of 90%. Over here, we've got Polygon Matic. This starts in 2023. Here we've got an underperformance of 96%. Over here, we've got Balancer relative to Bitcoin. Here we've got an underperformance of 98% since May of 2021. Most assets underperform and some assets underperform quite consistently. And we can make money just from that underperformance, and that's how I currently approach this market. I'm not trying to find the next IP or the next maker token when most altcoins go down. And I'm also not trying to time the super short term where we might go up for a single week to then subsequently go back down again. Because again, Bitcoin dominance tends to rise over the months. I feel better betting on falling prices because this is what most altcoins do most of the time. And so I shared it before and I'm sharing it again. I made more than 100 tutorial videos in premium about risk management, about tokenomics, about shorting altcoins, about on-chain metrics. Feel free to check it out. It's all below. It's thebitcoinstrategy.com. That's your access to premium. Besides all of those tutorials, I'm of course also sharing my own positions. What kind of altcoins am I especially bearish on? So feel free to check it out. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, just message me within the first week and I'll refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. Looking forward to seeing you again here on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to also give this video a like. It helps the channel grow. See you next time, or potentially also see you in premium. Cheers.